Welcome to Chapters, everyone. Thank you all for joining the discussion of Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises. I am Yushima Cherry Burks, your host and the author to said book. Every Sunday for the next 9 weeks, we will be discussing one chapter of my book. Okay, panel, introduce yourselves and tell us how you're doing today.
Hi, I'm Shankita and I feel awesome today.
Awesome. It's good to see you, Sean. I haven't seen you
Thanks,
in
you
a minute.
too. I
Yes.
know.
Yes. Thanks and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Chanelle.
Hi, I'm Chanelle Wesley, and I'm the author of CC's Inc. And I'm so excited to be with this lovely panel. I feel like I have grown to know you even more, both of you. So it's amazing. I'm
Yes.
happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you. Thank you so much. You ladies have been a joy, and we have really enjoyed ourselves during the
Mhm.
last few talks that we've had, and we've had opportunity to meet some new people and bring them on. So today is us, and without further ado, let's get started. Today we're discussing chapter 5. The titles for this chapter are What We Feed Grows, Protecting My Peace, God's Got It, Remarriage, and The Breath of Life. Chapter
Mhm.
5 opens up with me describing my fear of being a bad mom and overcompensating in order to remain in good graces with my children. I discussed how my daughter AJ lied to her teachers when she went to school one morning because she was upset with me. We were reading this book called Child Called It. And if you're familiar with that book, we had our own little book club. Always been somebody that's into reading, and I wanted my kids to be into reading. And so we would go to Barnes and Nobles every week, and we would pick out a book. And this book was just new to me. I hadn't heard of it, but I saw some reviews on like Oprah or something. So we picked up the book. I didn't know what it was about, and it was about this boy that was getting abused, and he just had a very bad life. And so I bought the book with her to read with her and my stepdaughter, thinking that it would help her to see some children have lives where they have no support and no love. And so it's important to remember that you come from a loving home. And, I just wanted to show her the contrast between her life and other people's life once we started reading the book. Well, instead of that being a lesson, she went to school and told them that I did everything to her that happened to this little boy in Child Called It. So she said that I tied her under the table, that we didn't feed her. I was married to Mitch at the time. She said that neither one of us fed her. We made her sleep under the table and we kept her under the table like a dog. It was just a whole thing. Well, when I went to pick her up from school, I had little Mikey in a carrier and he was only 4 months old. And usually she'll come out to meet me at the car. And I was so overprotective, I didn't even let her ride the school bus. I would pick her up, her and my stepdaughter. Neither one of them came out. I went inside and I was, looking for them. So I went into the office and I was greeted with police officers and social workers who snatched my 4 month old from me while he was in his carrier. He had only been breastfed, he had never been away from me. And so, of course, he was startled and he was wondering what was going on. And I didn't know what was happening. Simultaneously, Mitch was at work being arrested because they said that he had been involved in this as well. So Mitch was being arrested at work and they were questioning me in the principal's office. So they ended up taking AJ, my stepdaughter, and little Mikey into DHR custody. It was the Thanksgiving weekend. So this was actually like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. The next day was Thanksgiving. So I couldn't get them back. They couldn't even do the investigation till after the holiday. So 4 days passed and I received a phone call like on the second day. And the investigator who had spoken to me earlier, she was like, it's just something about this that's not sitting right with me. I talked to the girls. I'm just not sure that this is accurate information they're giving us. I know we haven't done the home visit yet. I know it's a holiday, but I want to give you the name of the person and the number to the person who has your children so that you can check on them. And, because I don't feel that you're a threat. It's not. She said, I've seen threats. I've been doing this for 23 years. You don't fit this. I don't believe it. So I was like, oh, thank you. So I was able to call and speak to little Mikey. He was only 4 months, and just hearing him coo and talking to the foster mom, she was like, this has never happened before. I've never had a parent contact me while I had, her children. She was like, so the investigator must really trust you. She was like, because I've been doing this for 15 years and this never happened. So she was so kind. She allowed me to talk to him like 3 times a day. And that really helped the process, but it was still really hard for me. I called and checked on AJ and my stepdaughter. They had went shopping. They happy. We went shopping. We got all new stuff. And later I found out that the reason why AJ wanted to do that because my stepdaughter had really been in foster care before. And she said, whenever you go to foster care, you get to do whatever you want to do. You get new clothes. And every time they move you, you get new clothes and new toys. And AJ wanted new clothes and new toys. So she did that. And so that was a whole thing. So anyway, on Monday, they came and did the investigation. Monday or Tuesday, I don't know, but they came into the house. I hadn't done anything different. And at this time, a friend of mine who is Deborah had sat with me the whole 4 days. She didn't even speak. She just sat on the couch. She was just an anchor for me at that time. Because I had no words. There was nothing I could say. It was nothing that can be done to ease my suffering at that time because I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. So she was a very needed force. And I think the Lord really used her to help me to get through that, even though she just sat there and didn't say nothing. It really was helpful. But they came in and did the walkthrough. And that's when I learned that AJ had told them that she didn't have a room. My stepdaughter said they didn't have their own room. And they had to sleep on the floor under the table, tied up, or they stayed in cages. So I didn't know any of this. They just came in, they checked our refrigerator. Of course, it's full of food because it's before Thanksgiving. Like the turkey's done, like all the major stuff was prepped and stuff. And I hadn't finished cooking anything because I was devastated. Mitch was in jail because they had to do this investigation before they let him out, before we could do anything like that. And so it was just really a heartbreaking situation. So they asked to see the girls' room. Now we had built their room for them, custom built their room for them in the house back in Milwaukee. We had this beautiful home. We had bought their room and we put dividers up, like walls in between them. And they had windows cut out in their room for them. They had their room decorated. We took them shopping. Andrea wanted like yellow and purple, and I think Destiny wanted pink and white or something. Their room was completely decorated with all the stuff. They wanted TVs, lamps, toys, everything. It was just, they had everything they could ever want. I wish my room looked like that when I was little. I wish it looked like that now, okay, but it doesn't. So the investigator was shaking her head and she was taking notes and shaking her head and taking notes. And so she wanted to see our room to see if maybe I just hurried up and did something, you know what I'm saying, before she got there. So she checked all the rooms. It was like a 4-bedroom house. She checked all the rooms. Everything was fine. And that's when she told me, like, these are the things that AJ was saying. This is what your stepdaughter was saying. They asked if there had been any physical discipline. I said, yes, they got a spanking last night for doing inappropriate things with each other. And we separated them from their room and we took, I don't know what we said. I think we took like the TV or something. I don't remember. And we were just trying to figure out where they were going to sleep because we didn't want them in the same area. And so they concocted this story together, and that's why their stories meshed. And when she went back and talked to them, they recanted and was like, we were just mad, you know, we didn't want to be on punishment. I could get new clothes and all this stuff. And so once they finished the investigation, they allowed me to go back and pick up Mikey. I picked up AJ. She was like 2.5 hours away. And my stepdaughter was like 2.5 hours away in a different place then, because they had split them up, put them in a different place. So I went and picked them up and I brought them back to the house. I took my stepdaughter to her mother, who was very upset because that was another 4-hour drive. But I was like, what we not finna do is this. I'm finna take you to your mom. Your dad's not here. I'm not finna have y'all lying on me again for some foolishness. Took her to her mom, who hadn't seen her in about 6 months, and was like, no. You're the best mom for her. It's already been established. Don't drop her off. And I was like, yeah, so here she is and here her stuff. I'll come back and get her when her dad comes home, but I need to deal with mine right now. And so I did that. So when I got home, I was just so devastated and so hurt because it's always been me and AJ against the world. She was like my ride or die. Like wherever I was, she was my little mini me. She was my little shadow. Wherever I went, she was there. And for her to do that, even though she was a child, it just really hurt me. I was just really, really hurt because the consequences that came behind that was she knew how to work the system now. So whenever she got angry, she would go to school and make a false accusation. And this went on for several years. She would go to school, make false accusations. They would have to do this whole process again. They wouldn't take them out the home, but they would have to come in, and it just became this whole thing for several years. And it changed the way our relationship was. Like it made me not trust her, and so I was always nervous about what should and should not happen with her, even though she wasn't disciplined like most kids. Because of my past, I had a hard time disciplining her. It still made me very wary of even the slightest bit of correction. I did it anyway, but it made me feel very anxious. And so since our relationship changed after that incident, she told my mother, who was estranged from me, we weren't really talking, that she didn't want to live with me anymore. And so her and my mother came up with this plan, or I don't know, AJ said it was her plan. And so they came up with a plan to lie and say I was on drugs. The court, they never did a drug test on me or anything. I've never done drugs. I don't even know what they were talking about, but my mother had friends in the court system. She had friends as social workers. She worked in social services. So she had connections. She had friends. I went to court and they granted my mother temporary weekend, because she could see her on the weekends or something like that. And I was like, I really didn't want that to happen because I knew how my childhood was and I didn't want to expose AJ to that. But when AJ went over there, she was free. She could do whatever she wanted to do. There were no boundaries. She could come in and out the house as she pleased. And it was just an unsafe environment. I felt that it wasn't good. The courts didn't listen to me. They actually yelled at me to be quiet. And I told them, I was just asking the judge, can you just give me a drug test? Can you give us both a drug test, me and my mother? I was like, check us both and let's see which one comes back positive and which one comes back negative. Let's do that. And so she was like, no, I'm not going to do that. This nice lady is trying to just help you. She's just concerned. And my mother was sitting there like a frail, she was just so frail. And a couple of days before that, she had beat me in the shoulder with her metal cane and then had me walk her to the car because it was ice outside. This is the same woman. Okay, anyway, that's in the book too. So anyway, when we went through all of that and my mother ended up getting that visitation right type thing, I had gotten information from her therapist because AJ had been in therapy since she was really, really young. And I had information from her therapist. She went to a therapist every week, sometimes twice a week. So I had years worth of notes from the therapist that were showing she was consistent and she never spoke of any abuse, neglect, or anything. And she went in there by herself. I didn't even go into sessions with her, right? So they later were like, oh, okay, never mind. So when I went to visit my mom, I went to visit AJ at my mom's house. I found out that they had moved to Pennsylvania. She had kidnapped my daughter. I didn't know she went to Pennsylvania at the time for about 4 or 6 months. I didn't know where they were. I called the police. I called everybody. And since she had still had legal temporary visitation or whatever, she just said that I abandoned her and ended up with full custody, which didn't last long because they ended up getting into a physical altercation. And she ended up in the system in Pennsylvania, and she ended up in the system in Connecticut. And all this time I was trying to fight to get her back. And it was just it was just a really frustrating, hurtful, time consuming, and emotionally draining process, dealing with the bureaucratic system, dealing with the system in general, and just trying to get everything straightened out. So because AJ didn't want to come back home because she didn't want the structure, she didn't want the discipline, she didn't want that. She wanted to kick it and live her life. She wanted to ride the L trains in Connecticut and kick it with her little friends out here in these streets. She didn't want to come back home. So I still tried until she was about 17 to get her to come home, and she decided not to. So doing all of this, with this happening with my child, my firstborn, I was very hurt. Have any of you ever experienced a child or a loved one lying on you?
I'll go. Um, I was a mother of, when I met my ex-husband, he had 3 kids, all by the same woman. And so I'm not going to say they lied on me because I don't recall them. If they did, I don't know about it.
Okay.
But I know that his family kind of looks at me differently. And I don't know if it's because we not together anymore or if they went and told them something about me. And I'm quite sure that they did because you know how kids expect to do whatever it is that they want to do. I'm just a step parent, you know, and even though I was raising them because I had no children when we met. So I go from having none to 3 and from 3 to 4 because I had our, daughter. Um, but when they were living with us, it was so much easier. When they first started living with us, it was some getting used to. Um, but then they started stealing. Um, and how I know is um, I used to buy them snacks. Always when we go to the grocery store, their snacks was for when they got home that they could eat them. I bought Ijama a separate one because hers was for lunch and her snacks when she got home. So they had the same amount, but she was probably using hers maybe quicker because she had to pack a lunch. So, that was 5 days. And if she came home, if she wanted one, I would take from hers. I wouldn't take, from Audrey's them or whatever. So they were just really sneaky. But like again, I can't say that they lied because I don't know. Um, I would hope that they didn't, but again, I can't really say. Have loved ones lied on me? Most definitely have. But as far as a child, I can't think of one who did, so I can't say.
Oh no, that's good that you didn't have kids lie on you. I mean, let's not have kids lie on us. So no, thank you for
I mean,
sharing.
yeah, because I can only imagine a child lying on you and you having to prove that you didn't do that. you know, like,
Heartbreaking because
and
we
you have to
want to
go.
believe kids. We want to believe the kids.
Exactly.
I always want to believe
Exactly. You
my kids.
always
My
want to
kids
believe the
tell me
kid. Like, why would
anything.
this kid lie?
Why would
Why
she
would, why would she lie? What would,
lie?
what would promote her to lie? Whatever,
Right.
whatever. But like I said, growing up, children were always to be s- seen but
And
not heard.
hurt.
So when adults came into the house, if your parent's friend came over, you left the room.
That's it.
You
Immediately.
left the room.
Unspoken. It
So
was an unspoken rule. They didn't even have to tell you to leave. You just knew to leave and don't ask for nothing to eat. You hear me?
you
Don't
wait.
ask to do nothing. You wait until they company leave. You don't interrupt. But I
Right.
think what happened was because I was overcompensating and I never wanted to be a bad parent. I always gave my children jurisdiction for everything. I was always over accommodating to them. And so I don't think they respected me as a mother. I think I was seen as weak, where I was trying to just be nurturing. I was seen as weak, if that makes any sense.
I think probably that they were probably viewing you as their friend instead of their parent, maybe.
It could have
Um,
been.
you
Yeah.
know, uh, I of course we don't know, because if you ask them, I don't know if they would, be open and honest
Mm-hmm.
about it, you know, or maybe they would, you
They
know.
might.
Yeah. But I know for me growing up, it was always established this is the mother, you do X, Y, and Z. There is no way that I would have concocted something with my cousin, because my cousin lived with us when her mom went into the hospital. And so she lived with us for about maybe 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no way that we would concoct something. Hell, I had the fear of Ethel. Okay,
Listen.
let me tell you, the
Listen.
fear.
Mhm.
There was nothing. I wasn't telling nobody nothing. I wasn't saying nothing to nobody. And I learned that early on because my mom had this boyfriend, and he was like my favorite dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he would bring me now laters and M&Ms, and one night we had went somewhere, and he was like, well, where did y'all go? And I took him where we went. you know that right there, that incident right there, she came home and she said, look, what goes on here, stay in
That,
here, you don't tell my business. And so that went from that moment on up
mm-hmm.
until, you know yeah, up until now. So
You still don't tell us what's going on. How
I
your mama do
don't
that? I
know.
don't know. You gotta ask
No.
her. I don't know how she do it.
Right.
I don't know.
Like, no, that was just a no. You don't,
Mm-hmm.
what's going, I don't know, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like your cousin
My
Mark,
cousin.
you're like, I don't know, you gotta ask my dad, you gotta ask my mom,
Right.
so yeah, so I mean, I can't even imagine how that made you feel,
Yeah.
and people don't, they so worried about the situation, but not
Mm-hmm.
worried about the people that's in the
That's
situation
affected,
that's
right?
affected by that,
Yeah.
so I'm, not just her, but you as well, because you are experiencing it from a different perspective, from a
Yes.
different level, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So, I mean, we have emotions, we hurt, just because
Mm-hmm.
we mothers and
Right.
things like that happen, and our children don't understand that until they are parents themselves.
Themselves. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's funny because I had a conversation with AJ about that. And thanks for sharing, Sean. I really appreciate that. That was spot on, I'm going to tell you. But I had that conversation with her. She has twins now. And I said, I hope they never put you through the hell that you put me through, because I don't think you'll be able to withstand that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I don't think most people will be able to withstand a fraction of what I've had to go through, just trying to be a good person, a good parent, and just trying to navigate all of these different obstacles and barriers that were placed in front of me, not by the outside world, but by the people that were closest to me and the people I was trying to
Mhm.
protect. And she took that and ran with it and told my coworkers that I said I wished her children would be raped like she was. So the conversation that we had is I said, I hope, because we were just talking about her childhood, and it was a three-way call, her, my mom, and me. And it was a lighthearted conversation. We were laughing. And my mother used to always say, you gonna get what you gave me twofold. Or, she would always say it to me. So we were having one of those conversations. This is when we were still interacting, of course. And I said, AJ, I said, child, I hope you don't have no dudes running up over your house, like they was running over for you when you was 9 and they was like 17 and 18. I said, girl, because you'll be ready to fight somebody. Yeah, this true story. This really happened. I was like, you'll be ready to fight somebody. And she got quiet and I was like, hello. She was like, yeah, I'm here. And then we just finished talking like nothing, right? Mm-hmm. And so after that was over with, I didn't hear from her for a couple of days. And so I had checked in on her. I was texting her and stuff. And I asked her and she was like, I don't like what you said. And I was like, well, what did I say? I apologize if I said something that was, inconsiderate or disrespectful. Like, what was it? And she said that statement. And I was like, oh, I didn't mean to hurt you by that. I was like, I'm sorry. We were joking. We were laughing. It wasn't anything malicious because I really don't wish that on you. I really don't want you to go through any of the things that I went through, because you have two at the same time that's both little, and I would never wish anything to happen on them. And so she had an appointment, and that she had went to this appointment. So with me being a social worker and a therapist, everybody it's a small knit community. Mm-hmm. So when she went to her appointment, I guess they asked her, why is your mom not here? Where's your mom? Your mom's not with you today. And that's when she told my coworker that I said that she's not talking to me because I said that I wish her children would be raped. And so once again, I found myself in this situation where I had to make a decision. Do I continue this relationship that is damaging not only to me, but to now her younger brothers, right? Because you're telling people stuff like that, this can just open up a whole nother can of worms. And God forbid, if you say I did something to one of your kids, you know what I'm saying? Or I did something to you or anything, I'm in a different position. I have so much to lose and I just can't afford to do that. So it's a shame to have to make that decision and set a boundary that will exclude someone so close to you from your life. But it's self-preservation at this point. Mm-hmm. And I have to do what I need to do. So with that, Chanelle, what about you? Have you ever had a child or a loved one lie on you?
No. I think what it was really reading it was so touching. I mean, just because I know both of you, mm-hmm. and I just, as a mom, just knowing the type of mom that you are, I just can't even imagine how it had to have been for you in this situation. What it speaks to me is just about broken trust. Mm-hmm. And I've been on both ends. I think I was about like 12 years old, and I'm going to date myself because this is back when Capitol Court was a thing. And I was with my mom. We were getting ready to go out of town for this federation. And I'm with her, we're shopping, and I want some makeup. It's like some lip gloss and something else. Mm-hmm. Now, I could have just asked her for it, but I had the genius idea of I'm gonna just slip it in my thing, I'm gonna just take it. Mm-hmm. Bad idea. And I do it. My mother was one of the type of women at that time. She was very soft-spoken, very mild-mannered. Mm-hmm. She was the kind of person, if there was a disagreement where I had a problem at school, she was not one of those women who's like, look, I'm going to tell this teacher this and this and this and that. My mother was not that woman. Mm-hmm. And especially not at that point in her life. She just was really always caring, considerate, kind, soft-spoken, even-tempered. All of these types of things was the viewpoint that I had of my mother. At that time, I felt like she's the nicest person in the world. She reminded me like this is what Jesus must be. So when we're there, I took it. I'm hot, you sweaty, you feel like, okay. You walk out the door, you think like, yeah, I might have this thing. Your security like, hey, step in. That's that moment when you're like, oh God, please let me not don't let this be real. Let me wake up from my dream. Lord, I'm sorry. I promise I won't take nothing else. We asked to step back inside. We step back in Target. Mom's like, what's going on? I know exactly what's going on, but I'm playing dumb, like, what do you mean? I don't know. And so they're like, come on back with us into this room, right? So we're in this little back room and there's like all these cameras and there's, security people just sitting inside. And I'm just looking around. I'm like, ah. And for the first time in my life at that point, at that moment, my mom, when they're saying like she took something, my mother is like defending me so tough. I mean, like the attitude, like you're not gonna say this, and everything that I have been wanting her to do, she is doing at this moment. I feel horrible. I'm just like, oh, adamant to deny it. Like, no, I didn't take it because I wanted it to be true. It wasn't true. But at this point, I just feel like I have to stand on it because she's so adamant and I don't want to disappoint her because I know that I have it. And it's just like girl, it was a situation. And then finally, it got real because there's like, well, if you don't take it out, well, then we're gonna get it for you. I was like, I don't have nothing. It's like, okay, we're gonna bring a female cop in here. She's gonna strip search you. I was like, no. Yep, the jig is up. Here it is. I gave it out, but it hurt me so much to pull it out. And the whole time that I'm doing it, I'm looking at my
Your mom
mother's
is it.
face. Like from the moment, one moment she was like this, and then her face just changed, and it was like this very stoic look on it. She didn't say a word. She was just quiet. And I really wished that I could die at that moment. I just wanted to be
Yes.
dead. Like, this is so horrible. She didn't say anything. We flipped out some papers. I'm like, Mom, I'm sorry. I'm trying to, apologize. She didn't say anything. She's just like, come on, Chanelle, we're going to get out of here. We leave. We're in the car and I'm crying. Mommy, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did. It was,
Uh-oh.
Oh, she froze.
Yeah.
but she wouldn't say anything. She was just quiet. She was just, Chanelle, you were with me in the store. You could have asked me for it, and I would have bought it for you. And I never thought that I would ever say this to you because you've always been honest and truthful and all of these things. But I'm going to tell you, I can't trust you, and that's the epitome of what we've lost trust today. I can't trust you. And when I tell you the weight of that situation, it just broke me down. I didn't go on the Federation. My father tore my behind up. That was my last whooping that I got. I remembered that thing. But worse than the whooping and not going on a Federation was the fact that I had broken trust with her.
Yes.
That day taught me a very valuable lesson about trust. And I knew that I never wanted to be in that situation again with my mother or anyone of value in my life that I held dear and say, Chanelle, I can't trust you. I have never touched anything that does not belong to me.
Yeah.
Since that day, it just was a life lesson. I don't even, it has no kind of thing. It doesn't even move me in any way because the price tag was just too high. And so I just know how it feels to lose a person's trust in that situation. But yeah,
Man.
girl, it was terrible. But yes,
I
I've learned so
bet.
much from that. But I'm so sorry for your experience that you guys both had.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That
I
was
know,
my heart
yeah.
was just dropping. I could
Yes.
just picture Sister Coleman sitting there. I could picture her fighting for you and you like, yeah, mom, stop. I bet you were just like, no, let's in your mind, you were like, just this is not, don't defend me right now. This is not
Shame.
this.
I was just like, oh my God, I wanted to die. I was just like, let me die.
Just let me go. And the Lord was like, mm-mm. You finna get
Nope,
all
you got to
this.
pay this. You
You
got to
finna
pay
pay
this
this
price right here.
price. Well, I'm glad you survived that. And I'm glad your relationship with your mom survived that.
You didn't let me die. I wanted to die.
It wasn't your time. It was not your time, okay? God was like, no, you finna fill all these leaks. Okay, well, thanks for sharing, ladies. In this chapter, I also discovered that I'm an empath, which means that I unintentionally apprehend the mental or emotional state of other individuals. It would be sad. I would be sad if my friends were sad, and I would be angry if my husband was angry. I would try to help and fix everyone around me, and I just wanted everyone to be happy all the time, which is unrealistic, right? Because we need to sometimes sit in discomfort in order for us to grow. I've learned that now as an adult. I've learned that as I've become a therapist and through education and wisdom. But when I was much younger, I didn't. I never wanted anyone to be unhappy because I was unhappy so often. So eventually I learned how to set healthy boundaries, but it took several years. And we didn't even get to that chapter in the book yet. With that being said, I've lost, well, I'm not going to say I've lost. People have lost me as their support system because I've had to set those healthy boundaries in order to maintain my sanity, in order to maintain my emotional health, in order for me to be able to heal from the past traumas and broken trust from these toxic relationships. Do you have a hard time with setting healthy boundaries with people that you love?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's because I am a people pleaser. You know, but I'm kind of like, so if my friend is sad, or if my loved one or, boyfriend is sad, I'm the person that's going to try to take them out of that funk,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like if I'm around that funk, then I'm going to be pulled into it too. So I'm the one that's going to act goofy, that's going to say something goofy. I had a fiance who was, if I was mad, then he got mad. I'm like, you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
You're supposed to put a smile on my face. You're supposed to make me, forget about it. Don't mean like F her, yeah, when she go, no, you're supposed to be like, okay, babe,
Mm-hmm.
make me laugh. Tell me a stupid joke. You know what I'm saying? Something. But I am the person that if a friend calls me, I'm there, I'm that ear. But I don't take it on as my life. I know some friends that, you know, they that they get bogged down with their friends' problems and things like that. I'm not that person. I'm just your ear. If you want some advice, I'll give you some. Um, but that's not going into my bag. I'm
Right.
not gonna put it in my bag. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
leave it in your bag.
Mm-hmm.
If you want some advice, or if you just want to vent to me, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not coming over here.
Right.
So yeah, no. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And we're going to talk about that bag analogy in a minute. Thanks, Sean. That's
Mhm.
really good. Yes. Chanelle.
Yes. I want to say when I was younger, I think I definitely internalized everyone's emotions and feelings. If you were upset, I'm upset with you. It's ride time. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sad, I'm sad. You're happy, I'm happy. And it just became so emotionally draining.
Yes.
Sometimes you can be in a situation and you riding harder than the person that's in the situation.
That's
And
what I
I
was.
had to look at stuff like, well, wait a minute. Here I am, all out my character, all out my thing. This person been moved on, went happy in life. I'm still mad at the person they mad at. They didn't, they reconciled. I'm like, girl, we still mad at this person though. I'm like, so I had to get to a point where I am willing to give that ear, that counsel. I'm there for support, but I don't take it on as my issue.
Right.
And that's how I was making it before. And it was unhealthy for me.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it could be depleting and just draining when people come and they just want to lean and tell you. It's just like I would just I'll be down. I was happy before I talked to you. Now I talk to you, and it's just like, Lord, I don't know how I can live. And so I had to stop that for myself. As I've grown, as I've matured, I've just learned in life it's very important for balance. I
Right.
can give this and I'm willing to exchange that, but at the end of the day, I have to walk away with this because I have to protect my own peace. So it's just a growing. Again, I love Sean's response. She was just hitting
On
it on
point.
everything with the back. Yes, I felt all of
On
that. So
point.
I
Yes.
just I felt it. But girl, it can be draining and you do need healthy boundaries. Sometimes we take boundaries as an attack or as a person is not valuing us or the relationship, but boundaries are healthy,
Yeah.
and they're very necessary. And I didn't see that before, thought it was not being a good friend, but boundaries are necessary and you need those on both ends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Chanelle. And I absolutely agree with you as well, 100%. Sometimes we can be the dumping ground for our friends because they know that we are active listeners. They know that we are going to, like you said, ride for them and support them and give them honest feedback with their situations. And I used to stew over things that my friends were going through. And I would be so upset. And it had gotten to the point to where my husband Quan would be like, whenever you talk to this person, you're in a funk for 3 days or more. I'm gonna need you to make some decisions, like either not talk to them or not take on their stuff. Because every time you talk to them, and it would be the same, even with after talking to my mom, if her and I were in some kind of disagreement that I didn't know about, because I often found myself in disagreements I didn't sign up for, I didn't know. And so I would be mulling over what did I do? What did I say? How can I make it right for days and days? And it was a game that people play with your emotional real estate. It was something that they felt that they had the rights to do because I had given them the right to my emotional state. I've given them the right to my mental health to control that, right? So why wouldn't they manipulate it for their own gain? But I remember one time I was so upset about something that my friend told me. I was like in tears. It was just really bad. And so I had concocted this whole thing to help her. And it took about 2 days to get all of these resources and stuff together. And so I called her back and I was like, so I did this and I did that. And Chanelle, when I grind, right? Like I don't sleep. Like Sean, when I grind, I don't sleep. So I didn't sleep. I was still working full time. Of course, I had AJ and I was just doing everything I could to help her. And I called her and she was like, hey girl, what's up? And I was like, hey, I'm just, I got these resources for you. I'm about to come and get you. Da-da-da. Oh, no, it's good. We worked everything out. It's good. We good. Girl, don't even worry about it. Yeah, I was just tripping. I was probably just overreacting. Da-da-da-da-da. And
That's the main reason why I don't do that.
so that helped me, right, to be able to allow people to own their own stuff. I can support you. I can empathize with you, but I'm going to allow you to own your own emotional real estate. And I'm going to just mow my own lawn in front of my emotional real estate. I ain't trying to go in your yard and I'm not going to pull you into my yard. But analogy that a therapist had given me when we talked about the cups, she didn't use bags, but she said cups or little pots, right? So I was in a therapy session with Mikey and I was just expressing like, I just want to do something to help him. Like, what can I do to make his life better or, whatever. And she was like, what makes you think that's your job? And I was like, because I'm his mom. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm his mom. I'm supposed to do that. And she was like, so let me tell you something. First of all, God gave you a pot when you were born. Everything that you ever needed is in this pot. Your talents, your gifts. He knew what education level you were going to be. He knew what you liked. He knew what you didn't like. He put your hopes and your dreams. He put the steps that you need to take to make these things happen. He put even sadness in there for you. Everything you need is in your pot. It's your pot. When you had Mikey, he gave Mikey a pot and he gave you a pot for Mikey. What's happening is you're taking out of your pot and giving it to Mikey, and you're not teaching him how to use the resources in his own pot. So you're depleted and you're giving everybody something out of yours. When you got married, he gave Quan his pot. You had your pot for you. You had a pot for Mikey. You had a pot for Quan. You need to allow them to own whatever it is that they need to own so they can grow. It's not your job to fix them. It's your job to guide them, love them, and support them. But it's not your job to fix them. Let them use their own pot, because yours is empty and theirs is overflowing, but they don't even know what to do with those ingredients because you didn't allow it to happen. So that was so powerful for me. It just changed my perspectives, not only in my relationship with my friends, but with my kids. I would never allow, Mikey never fell. He never got a scar on his leg. He didn't walk upstairs until, and you remember I would take him to daycare and they would laugh at me because I wouldn't let him walk up and down the stairs till he was 3.
Girl.
I wouldn't let him walk. I carried him everywhere because I didn't want him to get hurt. And Chanelle, Miss Brown used to talk about me, and Tina used to talk about me and be like, girl, if you don't let this boy walk and get his shoes dirty, his shoes was white on the bottom. You hear me? And he was 3 years old. His shoes was, you could have licked off the bottom of his shoes.
It was a situation. Even at your house, I would be like, this is the most sterile environment ever. Like, I feel like I needed to do a prep before I came in there. It was that intense.
I was so different as I got my own Sean. Like my own house, it was completely clean. It was really crazy because I didn't want him to get sick. But what happened was he ended up developing allergies to everything because I didn't expose him to anything. And that's one of those situations where I was giving him things out of my pot, and it's not what he needed, right? What he needed was in his pot. He didn't need the stuff in my pot. He needed to get dirty and to fall and to play with friends and to have those experiences, and for me not to go off on his teacher every time he got in trouble in school. None of those things allow him to grow. So now with Jack, I have to allow him to have his own pot and to utilize what's in his pot. And I see such a difference in how I raised them. Jack is more self-sufficient. He's outgoing. He's in and out the house. He has friends. He falls. He came in with his lip bleeding and swollen yesterday, blood dripping, and he knew I would lose it. So he was like, it was an accident. Someone hit me with a rock. I need some tissue and I need ice. And I was going to pass out and throw up. Like, it was just too much for me, but he was okay. So I was like, all right, fine. And when that happened, I was like, oh, he has what he needs in his pot, right? I just need to be there to support him and give him what he needs from his pot. So that was a perfect situation of growth for me. No children were harmed in this situation. The child who threw the rock is a very close friend with Jack, and he apologized profusely. And I know it was an accident, and they were playing, he was trying to be a ninja, but he didn't dodge the rock. So it's a whole thing. But just learning to allow people to own their own stuff has really helped to allow me to grow and allow me to heal, because I'm trying to heal everybody else and I'm a hot mess. How am I gonna do that? That wasn't working out for me. All right, so thank you for sharing, ladies. Chapter 5 also highlights how God uses people when we least expect it. Kim, Tim, and Jacine were my saving grace during a period of my life when Mitch abandoned us and we had nothing at all. I never asked him for anything because I'm not going to say it's ego, but I just don't like owing people, and I don't like putting people out. I don't like people doing something above and beyond what they would normally have to do for anybody. But I didn't have to ask them. God used them and they showed up anyway. They would show up with money, with clothes for Mikey. They would show up with food. And even though I was working full time, it was such a help because I didn't have my helpmate. I went from having a 2-income household to a 1-income household part-time because I was still in school as well. So just having them was such a blessing, and I did everything I could. And even today, if they ever need anything from me, I will make sure I will be there for them. I also discussed how Quan and I reconnected and we got married and we started to build a new life together. And allowing him to take care of me was something new for me as well. I just wish I had known how life could be when I was going through the process of that pain and that hurt. I think it would have really helped me if I had had hope at that time. So if I could go back and redo something, I would absolutely redo the period in my life when Mitch first left me, and just allow people to help me without feeling that guilt and without feeling shame around that. And I would have just accepted that as God's blessing. If you think back to one time in your life where you can literally just go back and hit the erase or the delete or the redo button, is there any time in your life that you would, one time, if you can go back one time and hit a delete, redo, or erase button, what would you choose to eliminate? Now, this is a different question from the other question in chapter, you know what I'm saying? Whatever chapter that was when we were talking about going back to childhood and telling yourself something. This is different.
I don't want to sound cliche, but honestly, I wouldn't want to,
Mm,
because it made me who I am today. The
mm,
experience, be it the good, the bad, the indifferent, it honestly makes us who we are today. So I can't think of anything. I mean, yes, when I was younger and I was touched, and and things
mhm,
like like that. But I don't know if that would have made me the type of parent that I am
mm,
today had that not happened.
mm,
Not only to my daughter, but to other children as well, just to make sure that they are safe. I probably could be like a lackadaisical parent, you know.
right.
Oh yeah, she can go there, she can go there.
Mm-hmm,
um the relationships that I have been in, the good, the bad, the indifferent, on their end and my end,
mm-hmm,
you know um would I be the type of person, would I have experienced those type of relationships so that they make me stronger, so when I do find that Mr. Right for me, that
mm-hmm,
I know how to treat him, and that I know what I'm looking for, what
absolutely.
I know what I'm going to accept and what I'm not going to accept, what the deal breaker is, you
Mm-hmm,
know, what I can live with and what I can't live with.
mm-hmm,
So so I really can't say, and even with the father who was absent,
mm,
in in my life, you know, I don't even know if I would reset that because I don't know him.
right,
So I don't know what he would have brought to my
right. With
life,
him, yes,
you
that's
know,
true. Yes.
so like I said the other day, everything happens for a reason. People come into your life and they leave little nuggets that you don't even know, that they're even leaving
Mm-hmm.
and nurturing you and, dropping off to you. So I I would say that I would not reset.
I love
Would
that.
not
That's
reset, would not pause.
Thank you.
Hmm.
I absolutely love that perspective, and you are 100% right. That everything that we've ever gone through, every piece, right, every piece of us has created the whole person that we are today. So I do agree that our experiences do make us who we are today. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Sean. Again,
You're
yeah.
welcome.
Okay, Chanelle.
Sean is just on it. I mean, that was just so inspirational.
Right. I'm like, once
I
again.
felt motivated and encouraged.
Right,
And
right.
then I just thought about myself and I said, Chanel, you are just way too petty.
Whoa.
Because guess what? I think about that question every day.
Yeah, I
Like,
still
what would
do.
I erase and what would I start
I
over?
still, yes, I
And
still.
so I'm going to say this.
Uh-oh. Hold on.
Okay, I just want to first of all say that I was so touched and moved by Sean's answer. I thought it was beautiful.
Beautiful.
I was inspired. I was motivated. I was just thinking, like, this is so amazing, the growth. It is beautiful. But I'm going to just say, it wouldn't be me. I am so petty. And I feel like maybe I haven't grown up enough, but my answer is yes. Yes. On a daily basis, I think about
Yeah.
relationship situations that I would just mute out, stop, cut out, do over. And
Absolutely.
yes, I would. And the situation that I would definitely just cut it in the midst and not totally wipe them out. But my current ex, my husband and I were in the process of divorcing.
Mhm.
And I stayed there too long. We were in that relationship too long. There were some
Yes.
positive things that I gained from him, but there were things in that relationship that I did not need to stay there that amount of time to learn.
Yes.
He had taught me enough in that regard. He gave me three beautiful children. For that, I am eternally grateful. There were times when he supported me and he was there for me, but he depleted too much of what was in me.
Yeah.
His inability to trust, it would just become to a point where it was toxic. It was
Mm.
no longer healthy.
Mm.
And I want my time back. You know, I have only allotted a certain amount of years on this life, on this earth. And
Mm.
I feel like I invested too much time, too much energy, too much of me, um, to not have it register on the scales in a way that was going to at least balance,
Yeah.
even not even tilted, but at least balance the situation. So yes, I think about that daily, about cutting stuff off, rewinding, redo. I'll be thinking, why can't we just get one redo? And I'm
Just
like, he asked
one.
the question about all the time, which is crazy. But yes, I would, girl, I would, yeah,
Yeah.
I would stop that. I would cut it. I would redo it. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And it's refreshing to hear two different polar opposite views, right? Because some things, and while everything you went through made you who you are, for me personally, it's some things that I wish I never went through because they changed me, but I don't think they changed me for the better. So those things I wish I could modify, adjust, or just remove out. So Shankita, I don't know how it feels to be God's favorites, but maybe you can teach me how to be better. In closing, I again just want to give you a hand, give yourselves a hand. You get a round of applause. Thank you all for participating in this discussion today, and thank you all for watching. Check out my store, yearofyushima.net. There you will find the book collection. Today we discussed chapter 5. So that means that my book collection, my clothing line, chapter 5 will be launched today. Go check it out. And you will also find chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 there as well. Every single piece was inspired by a story from a chapter in my book, Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises. You can find that at yuriyushima.com, Amazon, or any other major bookstore. I'm sure you'll find something that suits your needs or the needs of your loved one. Bless yourself or bless someone else. Also, remember to check out the products and services from our panelists today. CC's Inc. can be found on Facebook, and the link will be below. I want you to have a great day. And until next time, be bold, make a statement, and be empowered. Thank you.